If you need me, you can call me, but make sure you need.
Hey! I hope you guys are all having a great Sunday afternoon. It's your girl Ari, aka Nadia Sabe, aka Lil G, aka Princess of the Darkness, all of that stuff. I'm super excited to get into episode 39 of the Run It Back podcast. I'm not going to mince my words. I'm going to get straight into it. We have a relatively short podcast today. Starting out with some new music, we've got 5 submissions. So we are just going to get right into it. First up, we have Count the Fits from Loki Lifted. This is the second time that our friend is submitting to the podcast. The mix on this is a little bit tinny. Sonically, this is primarily a trap beat with some spacey elements and very nonchalant vocals. That was the entire vibe of this song for me, was nonchalant. And it feels a little bit longer than it is, but overall, not a bad song. Definitely very groovy, vibey, that kind of zhuzh, you know what I'm saying? If you would like to follow Loki or listen to this song, go ahead and go into the link in this description that will have all the links for music, for the news that we're talking about. Anything will be in that link, so go ahead and find that. The next song that we're talking about, I'm super excited to be talking about, as well as this person, because this is like a huge blast from the past. It's a song called Top Dog from Sydney, whose Instagram is Sid Has Spoken. He is from my hometown of Sarasota, Florida, and is still doing music and is doing really well. And I'm like it's really awesome and is a crazy full circle moment that he submitted, because he's one of the first people that like I ever tracked with, actually, like in a home studio kind of space. So getting to the actual content of the song, I love the sample that you used. I love the intro. The vocals are fighting a little bit with the instrumental, and that's just like a mixing thing. But it's not to the point where it's like too distracting. It's just something that I personally noticed. The melodies in this are great. I really enjoyed the like kind of chant-like sections. And everything flows together really beautifully, especially in like the curation aspect of it. The outro for the song Top Dog flowed very well with the intro to the next song, because this is on a project. If you want to listen to this song or any of the songs on the project from Sydney, go ahead and once again find this document. But yeah, this is the newest addition to the Run It Back favorite Run It Back favorite playlist. Geez, and I'm super excited about it. So let's move forward. We have Mamacita from Dean Z, and this autocorrected to Disney, which is interesting. Go ahead and change that really quickly. But overall, this is a very groovy, mid-tempo hip-hop song. I really love the melodies. One thing about Dean Z is he's funny. Like, it's pretty undeniable. The subject matter is funny. His vocals are funny. His cadence is funny. But it's also catchy and it's good. It's engaging, most importantly. So yeah, I really enjoyed this song, and it definitely made me smile, which I think is Dean Z's goal. So there we go. The next song that we have is called Thank You by DePerp, and here we go. There's great branding on like your hyperlink and the cover art itself for this song. It's very cohesive, but you need to update your DSPs, because there's just like a huge disconnect from the quality of the cover art and the hyperlink that you have, and then when you go to your DSPs and the photos that you have, your bio, it could just be a little bit better. We can put some more effort into it. So I definitely recommend doing that. This is your first song. So I understand that there's a little bit of a learning curve here, but it's a great first single. The hook is great. You are a little bit monotone. I challenge you to play around with your vocals more, but once again, this is your first single. There's a lot of development and experimentation to come, so I'm excited to see that from you. I hope to, be able to witness that through submissions over time. But yeah, once again, if you want to take a listen to this song or any of the music that we're talking about, find the document with all the links. And then finally, this is another pretty cool full circle moment. The first song that is on the Run It Back favorite playlist is called Bring It Home. And Sim Streeter, who is the writer and vocalist on that song, sent me the remix to review this week. And, you know, it's a remix of that song by Andres Avalon, I believe is how you pronounce his name. And it's an electronic remix that has some lo-fi elements, but it's very, like, almost tropical, beachy kind of thing. What popped into my head was like a kind of resort vibe initially, and I can definitely see it in that kind of space. Definitely, again, update your DSP profiles. We can definitely get some better quality pictures in there and just make it a little bit more of a cohesive look. I know that you don't have much music out. I'm pretty sure you only have Sim Streeter and then this remix out. But same thing as the last one that we talked about. Your cover art is great. The music is good. But it's just some of those little things that we can change, like the photos that you have up, the bio, making sure that all of your things are linked correctly is one of the other big things. But yeah, that is all the music that we have for today. If you would like to submit to any of the podcast episodes, go ahead and send me an email at ari@dareandefy.net. At some point, I will get around to your submission. I will talk about it, and we will go from there. Moving forward is the My Like section. We've got like 2 or 3 stories, I believe, in here. My computer is now dark, so I'm a little lost. Okay, here we go. Yeah, we've got 4 stories today. My computer is super, super slow, so that's something that we are dealing with today. Oh, and it also disconnected from the projector, so I'm going to make sure that we have that in order. The past couple of episodes have just been interesting. And here's the really annoying part, y'all. I'm really positive that it has to do with the fact that my computer is barely charged. And I got 2 new chargers. One of them worked really well. It was like $50 because it was an Apple charger. So, like, you know, it's going to work. Lost it, and then got another one that really doesn't work. So we're just kind of working with what we had. So it's saying that we can't connect, so for now we're going to look at some cool fish, and roll with the punches as it comes, right? Okay, so we're going to move forward with the My Life section. First thing we're talking about is ways that Ethereum can disrupt the music industry. I put this in because yesterday I was hosting my very first Web3 event where I happened to go into the metaverse, like in VR for the first time, and we were streaming into the metaverse, and it was a super cool experience, and I learned a lot from it. So when I saw this, I figured I would put it in because we already talk about Web3, and I say all the time it's something to stay up to date on and to take note of course. So I figured it was just the perfect time to delve a little bit deeper. So first of all, the first point that the article I'm referencing made with this is because blockchain, a lot of this you'll find as we go through this list has to do with ways that blockchain technology can be used. So yes, Ethereum and cryptocurrency and NFTs is all a part of that, but the resounding theme is blockchain technology and the benefits that it can have. So the first thing is as a digital rights database. So blockchain contains a lot of information that is traceable and finite, if that makes sense. But to read this excerpt, it contains information about who owns the copyright of music, lyrics, or any other media asset. Blockchain technology will ensure that music rights are not tied to single industry players, but instead will be possible to store and transfer rights through decentralized channels, making it easier for artists and consumers to gain access. The next thing is automating payments of royalties. Smart contracts will enable the same process at scale across multiple parties. users could use a single agreement to distribute music on iTunes and other platforms without needing a central authority or numerous copies of the contract. In addition, smart contracts will ensure that everyone's payment is distributed securely. The next thing is streaming music. By adopting Ethereum-based platforms, artists could diversify their distribution channels and create new opportunities to earn money by selling directly to consumers through various methods without any hassle of intermediary parties. And then finally, total transparency and data protection. Users in decentralized databases can store music rights information. Blockchain technology will make it possible to ensure that this data is kept up to date, secure, and transparent. So I think that all of this is pretty interesting and opens up a lot of growth in things that we obviously already use on a day-to-day and kind of concepts that we're still building through when it comes to the music industry. And the resounding theme is data collection, transparency, and then these decentralized channels, this one-to-one personal direct-to-consumer kind of concept is, to me, the kind of things that I'm seeing the most with it, and what I think we can see the most with this specific article as well. Moving forward, Universal Music Group boss Sir Lucian Grange went public with his belief that the economic model for streaming needs to evolve. Grange wrote of his desire for rewards for an updated model, an innovative artist-centric model that values subscribers and rewards the music they love. One clue from this memo was the choice of wording. Artist-centric is not the same phrase as user-centric, the model that's most often been suggested as a better alternative to streaming's current pro rata model. We've talked about these two different things before. I'm not going to talk about them again, but it has to do with the way musicians are paid from the actual subscription that someone pays to Apple Music, Spotify, so on and so forth. As we understand it, the concern, certainly with UMG's upper ranks, is that this might mean the royalties from the most engaged listeners are spread more thinly in comparison to those than the lesser engaged. So to expand on this, I do have to break it down just a little bit. Specifically, what we're going to break down is the user-centric model. So a user-centric model is a model within streaming where the subscriber's fee is divvied up amongst the artists that they listen to. So of course there's going to be a percentage that is held away for the company itself to make sure that overhead and labor and all these different operational costs are kept up. But the rest of the money, whatever the 70, 80, whatever the percentage is that is going to go back, is going to be divvied up once again by the subscriber's listening record. So for whatever month, let's say the median is about $10 for a streaming subscription per month. Unrealistic, but for a better example, you have that $10, maybe you listen to 5 artists that month. Depending on how many times you listen to each artist, the percentages are going to change, but that $10 will be split 5 ways instead of being put into a big pot, which is how the pro rata system works. Being put into a big pot and divvied up that way on a stream count is the way that it works now, majorly, right? I've talked about it before in terms of user-centric models, and that I think that it's a better model. And the main thing that I liked about this, or kind of wanted to put in, is that last comment specifically, where it talks about UMG's discrepancy or affliction, I guess is a better word, for the user-centric model, is that it's possible for more engagers who listen to more music for their money to not mean as more, because it's stretching thinner, because it's being divvied up amongst so many more people compared to someone who may have an account and may have a subscription, but is only streaming X amount of times a week and only listens to X amount of artists just because that is their streaming habit. And I think that that's a really interesting way to look at it. I think that it's also a very valid concern, They, in this article, also talk about how UMG does not know what an artist-centric model is going to look like. They just believe, specifically Lucian Grange believes, that is where we need to go. And once again, they don't know what that looks like, so it's now on to us to continue having conversations on what we think that should look like. I really don't know. But I think it's a good conversation to have, because once again, that final sentence about the value of a subscriber's dollar, depending on how much music they listen to, it definitely is anticlimactic. So moving forward, we're going to talk a little bit about 1RPM, which started off as a simple distribution platform or an aggregator, similar to DistroKid, TuneCore, and other things that we know about. But eventually it evolved into a really full-fledged modern record label. They continue to layer on professional services from all different kinds of marketing aspects to intelligence tools, analytics, and more. And now they don't really think of themselves as a distribution company, but as a modern-day music company, which is something... one that has tens of thousands of clients and offices around the globe. It's sort of a one-stop shop for a wide range of artists, from those just getting started to those who want to get their music on digital platforms, to those who have watched their careers grow and are ready for next level professional guidance to established artists who use, these different services. I like this, first of all, because I wanted to talk about it because 1RPM isn't an aggregator that most people gravitate towards to. Just to put it out there, I talk about it in my classes, and I'm sure I've talked about it on the podcast before. Ari Herstand has a great article where he breaks down just the benefits, pros and cons, and specs of different aggregators. I definitely recommend that you go look that up. And RPM is on that list, so you can kind of delve further and use that as a guide. But it is another option. We kind of are pigeonholed into using TuneCore, DistroKid, CD Baby, and United Masters. Those are like the ones that people really gravitate towards. But there are other options, and I like how they talked about this modern day music company, music group, because that's what a lot of these aggregators are becoming because of upstreaming and because of the addition of a lot of artist development and agency type services that are really the basis for a lot of musicians being able to make money outside of this context. Like, just in the industry general, those are the services that are needed across the board in order to make sure that musicians are funneling in income, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's really important to do research on your aggregator, because let's say you do get swept into the upstreaming cycle, or that's kind of your goal, you're going to want for the company you're working with to be one that you have a lot of information about because you care and that you've done research and you know it's a good fit. So I wanted to, of course, spark that conversation, introduce you guys to 1RPM, and yeah, there we go. Moving forward, this is the final story in this section. We have TuneCore, which is owned by a company called Believe, has tapped rapper Papoose as the head of as the head of hip hop for the company. He will reportedly report directly to Andrea Gleason, the CEO, and will lead the company's artist ambassador program for hip hop and rap scouting rising artists on behalf of the music distribution service. Super cool. Once again, talking about how all aggregators are definitely becoming these one-stop muddy water hybrid companies. This is another example of that, but my specific thing I wanted to talk about this is that Papoose is a rapper who fell into this position. Of course, there is networking and communication and relationships that go behind making something like this happen, but just to give an example of someone who is primarily an artist who is now working in music, having this specific title, having power, having pull, but also another income stream on top of them creating music. They're still in a creative field. They're, these kind of high-level positions are way more delegation based than it is task driven. I doubt that they're going to have him sitting at a desk on a computer typing. It's going to maintain, to be something that's really creative, that is really idea driven, and once again, delegation driven. And I'm excited to see how that plays out. But once again, I really wanted to give it as an example that it's something that's possible. And I think it's really cool. Next up, we have the industry updates section. Starting out, there is a campaign against proposed cuts to BBC Music Introducing, which gained momentum last week after a plethora of music industry organizations published an open letter to the board of BBC seeking reassurance that the service does not become an unintended victim of any changes being made to ensure the future stability and viability of the broadcaster. BBC Music Introducing is their radio platform that supports unsigned, undiscovered, and under-the-radar UK music talent. So it's something that people, obviously there's an emotional connection to. There is this cause behind it, meaning behind it, and the industry doesn't want it to go away. It's also a very, it's great for discovery in many different modes, whether that be as a consumer, as a scout. And, platforms like that usually just mean a lot to people because they, being a rocket launcher, you touch a lot of people and you change a lot of people's lives. So there's a big emotional connection to that. And obviously we're seeing that with this open letter and with there being, a movement towards ensuring the prosperity of this program. So we'll see how that goes. And maybe there's crowdfunding involved. Maybe there's petitioning involved. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Next, Spotify has announced today, aka January 23rd, which is definitely not today, that it is in the process of slashing over 500 jobs worldwide. They confirmed this in the same filing where they confirmed that Dawn Ostroff, the Chief Content and Advertising Business Officer, is also going to leave the company. She is going to assume the role of Senior Advisor to the company to help facilitate this transition. She joined in 2018 as a Chief Content Officer, and Spotify has also announced, a part of this obviously very large reorganization plan and scheme, that Alex Nordstrom, currently the Chief Freemium Business Officer, and Gustav Sodstrom, currently Chief Research and Development Officer, will each take on additional responsibilities and be appointed as co-presidents of the company. They're going to be, once again, reducing their employee base by about 6% across the company. There's obviously a lot of changes happening. Usually when you see labor cuts or payroll cuts, it's because there are some financial issues. We know that Spotify hasn't been a profitable company despite its huge market share. So that there may be meaning with it there. I'm not sure the exact reason behind this. We can look into it more and see kind of how this development goes. But this is a lot of restructuring on various levels, which I think is important as well. As we're not just talking about customer support or, these kind of what we would say low level or low skill, which I don't agree with those terms, but jobs of people who are not paid as much. We're talking about people who, have real buying power, decision-making power, and who have also had very long-standing careers with the company. So interesting, and once again, we'll just kind of keep up with it and see if we can figure out why this is going on and what the result will eventually be. Next, we have Tame Impala, Kevin Parker. Kevin Parker, who is from Tame Impala, has added Brandon Creed to his team, joining longtime manager Jody Reagan, who has a bunch of other big-name clients. Parker has increasingly become an on-demand producer who has worked with, once again, another lot of just big-name people. After more than 20 years with the company, Sas Metcalf, who was Cobalt's first employee and chief creative officer, will be exiting her post effective February 28th. That's a huge deal. Crazy. Then we have Concord has hired Colton McGee for the position of Senior VP of Business and Legal Affairs for Concord Label Group. McGee will report to the Executive VP of Business and Legal Affairs, Greg Goldman, and will work out of Concord's Nashville headquarters. Then we've got BMG has elevated Joe Jamie Haar to the role of Executive VP of Recorded Music, Nashville. Haar will oversee daily operations at the branch, including BBR Label Group and its roster and imprints Broken Bow Records, Stony Creek Records, and Wheelhouse Records. She will continue reporting to John Loba, president of BMG Nashville. Cool stuff. Next up, we have deals, acquisitions, and partnerships. This was a big week for people selling their catalogs, okay? So we have Warner Music Group striking a milestone deal with legendary British progressive rock band Yes to acquire the recorded music rights and income streams from the band's complete Atlantic Records era catalog. Then we've got Primary Wave announcing that it has acquired the music rights of Robbie Krieger and the late Ray Manzarek of legendary U.S. rock band The Doors. Primary Wave says that the monumental acquisition includes Robbie Krieger and the estate of Ray Manzarek's interest in The Doors' music publishing catalog, recordings, trademarks, and merchandise rights and income, among other things. The price of the deal with Primary Wave has not been disclosed. Next, Justin Bieber sold his music rights to Hypnosis Songs Capital. The company announced Tuesday in a deal reported to be worth over $200 million. Hypnosis acquired 100% of the publishing rights, masters recordings, and neighboring rights of Bieber's back catalog. 290 songs released before December 31st, 2021. His recorded music masters will continue to be owned by Universal Music Group. Because it's this back catalog, anything that he makes moving forward, he will own, which is great. But he basically has no control and no ownership over any of that music recorded before December 31st, 2021, which is basically everything that he's ever written. So I think that is pretty crazy. I don't know if I would have done it for $200 million. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I think $200 million for all of that is really a low ball offer, and of course it could be worth over $200 million. I'm really would have been more in like the 300, 400, 500 million, because that's a lot of music, and obviously he's a global phenomenon pop star who's been around for years and years and years. So that's a really big deal to me, and once again, I really think this was a low ball deal. But next we have Reservoir Media has acquired Dion's publishing catalog and synchronization rights for his master recordings. The singer is best known for his hits with Dion and the Belmonts as a solo artist, including Runaround Sue, The Wanderer, Ruby Baby, and Dream Lover, amongst others. The financials of this deal were not disclosed. We've got Acceleration Music, which has partnered with notable indie labels like Mom and Pop Music, Kill Rock Stars, and Heroic Music Group, has entered into a strategic global partnership with Plus One Records. With the deal, Acceleration will invest in Plus One and provide resources and operational support for the independent label. Based in New York and Los Angeles, the Plus One includes Heavy Reggie Snow, Nate Husser, and some other folks. Next, we have Empire Publishing has entered into a new joint venture with Surf Club, a group of young artists, producers, and writers put together by artist and producer Hit Boy. They simultaneously announced their first signees as Gary G. Dov Davis, Jesse Dr. Bloom, and Randy Bands Holmes. And then finally in this section, Ultra International Music Publishing has signed Atlanta-based songwriter and producer Zaytoven, whose catalog includes work for Future, Travis Scott, and Migos, to a co-publishing deal that will focus on the development of new music. The deal will additionally aim to build his ongoing collaborations with the company in Los Angeles, Atlanta, and London. UIMP has also fully acquired Zaytoven's remaining co-published interests in his existing catalog alongside the writer's share of his existing catalog, which consists of 560 songs written between 2005 and 2022, including Migos, Versace, Travis Scott's 3500, Lil Wayne's Problems, and 21 Savage's Famous, among others. I think that is super crazy. Of course, Beethoven is just an iconic producer. So I'm excited that he, is going on to continue to grow on his own as a producer. And this is also a great example that artists are not the only people who sign deals in music. And that should be definitely a huge lesson for specifically producers out there. You can do something very similar to what Beethoven is doing as long as you're put kind of just in the correct positions. We have one last story left. We were able to get this done pretty quickly today. So let's talk about it. This is something that we have continuously talked about for the past couple of months. Obviously, when it has to do with legal stuff, especially on a huge scale like this story, it's going to take a long time to officially play out, right? So, a United States Senate Judiciary Subcommittee convened a hearing about Ticketmaster on January 24th, prompted by the company's cascading failures with the sale of tickets for Taylor Swift's upcoming Eras Tour. During the hearing led by Senators Amy Klobuchar and Mark Lee, the panel heard testimony and asked questions about ticket sales monopolization, resale markets, and Ticketmaster's impact on the live music industry. Klobuchar explained that the hearing was intended to raise public awareness, uncover information for the Justice Department, and to encourage Republicans and Democrats to consider legislative options for curtailing the firm's monopoly. The solutions are here for the taking, she said, as the hearing drew to a close. Once again, it's going to take a long time. There hasn't been specific legal developments in this term, like anything has happened. No one's like officially been sued or tried or anything like that. They are simply talking about this on more of a public display, right? So they had a hearing to talk about it. This was a really bipartisan issue. Both sides of the aisle are not rooting for Ticketmaster and are kind of calling for there to be further action about this. So we can just continue to expect to hear about it. And yeah, it's not a huge update, but there's further conversation, and it's definitely, once again, a super bipartisan issue, so we can just expect to definitely see a development and something happening. As we close this off, huge thank you, as per usual, to Interspace Orlando for making this production and this podcast so awesome, so high quality. If you want to check them out, you can do so at interspace.orl on Instagram. If you want to follow me on Instagram, you can do so at Nadia Sabe Official. You can also follow the Dare and Defy page. If you want to submit music, once again, give me an email or send me an email at ari@dareanddefy.net that has a Spotify or YouTube link. You can also include your social media or anything else you want me to see. That includes questions and things like that as well. And I will get to you at some point. What do we have coming up? Let's see. February 5th, I have a show with Sound 1000 and P1K over at the Dreams Lounge. Everything I do that is a live event is local to Orlando. So if you're in Florida and you want to pop out, come see me. I'm going to have a set at a Valentine's Day showcase. It's going to be a bunch of fun. And then we have Women's Wind Down, which is happening February 15th. That is a partnered event with TMC, which is an all-women's exclusive event where we're going to have a plug and play. We're going to have networking, icebreakers, games of that kind of sort. Also some guest speakers, free food, free drinks, and just an overall good time. So if you're a creative lady who wants to meet with some other creative ladies, definitely pop out to that. And yeah, we're just gearing up for the rest of this first quarter. Definitely want to continue working towards the Dare and Defy mini convention. And yeah, just stay tuned. We are pushing along as we do. If you would like to reach out to me to either sponsor the podcast, have product placement here, if you are looking for consulting, any of those kind of different things, definitely don't hesitate to reach out. But on that note, y'all have a good rest of your day, rest of your week. I will see you guys next Sunday. Maybe the fish will too.
X-Stab, nigga. Gang.
shades on, bitch, this Louis. Broke nigga turn rich, hoes throwing coochie. Nigga, you done changed up, now I'm fuck with you. Pull up in a Lambo, wearing all Gucci. LV shades on, bitch, this Louis. Broke nigga turn rich, hoes throwing coochie. Nigga, you done changed up, now I'm fuck with you. My life expensive, it's ice too heavy. I walk in distance, it's drip expensive. My shades all black with gold, it's tinted. 2, 3 bands I spent at Louis. I was flipping bricks, working 9 to 5. Niggas call my phone cause I'm